Chubby Cherub was released on October 29th of 1986. Developed by Tosei and published by Bandai, it's among the first third-party games released on the NES, and one of the first 3 third-party games published by Bandai. Chubby Cherub is a side-scrolling game that's not really based on anything, since the game is a reskin of a Famicom game called Obake no Kyutaro, Wan Panic, which is a game based on a manga series about an Obake, a transforming ghost named Kyutaro, who is a transforming ghost who can't transform. While the gameplay remains mostly the same between the 2 versions, the American version had many of its sprites modified for localization. This was done because Western audiences would be unfamiliar with the Kyutaro character. In Kyutaro's original manga, he's deathly afraid of dogs, which explains why the majority of the enemies in this game are dogs. This element of the game remains unchanged, however the main character sprite, as well as a few of the attacks, look different than they did in the original Famicom release. In Chubby Cherub, you play the role of a cupid-like character, and it's your goal to save your friends who have been kidnapped. In the game, you'll platform and fly across 12 stages. You're able to continue flying as long as you have enough power in your power bar, which is increased by eating food strewn throughout the levels. The main enemies you'll find in this game are beagles and bulldogs, which will try and attack you by following you or attacking you by barking at you. When the dogs bark, they shoot the letter B, which looks kind of funny. The dog bark is really the greatest threat you'll face on most levels, as it can be kind of inconsistent and hard to judge as to where it'll go. The game also has birds and cats as enemies that attack, but less aggressively than the dogs. The game's controls do feel a little strange in their layout, however they are responsive. B makes you jump while A has you attacking, the opposite of most games on the NES. If you hold down B after you jump, it'll put you into a flight mode, where your power will drain more quickly, but it allows you to have free movement around the screen. At the end of each level, some fruit will spawn, and as you eat them, you'll open windows looking for your kidnapped friends. This isn't all fun and games, as sometimes enemies will spawn instead of your friend, and this will result in a cheap death right at the end of the stage. When this happens, it's really disappointing and infuriating and can result in a controller-throwing moment. Chubby Cherub isn't a really complex game, but it does offer enough challenge to keep the game interesting. The game's difficulty does drastically ramp up after the first few levels, and it becomes a pretty difficult game to get very far in. The slow movement speed and randomness to the dogs barking can become fairly frustrating, however, it's pretty rewarding when you beat a level. Graphically, Chubby Cherub has colorful graphics that are really cute looking. While not extremely detailed, the game does look nice. The game also has a sort of day-night cycle as you progress through the levels, with the background changing colors as you progress. The game's music is okay at first, although when you're repeatedly dying and hearing that same wishy-washy song repeating over and over, it does add to the game's frustration. The game also only really has one song in it, so you'll be hearing it a lot. Overall, Chubby Cherub is actually pretty fun. It's a really basic side-scrolling platformer, but there's fun to be had here. The game's charming, cutesy graphics helps with the game's slow-paced gameplay. Although the game can be frustrating at times, overall it's a worthwhile title that's worth spending some time with.